Attending in-person events has a special something that can't be replicated virtually. It doesn't mean that virtual events are not good. I'm just saying that in person you get a bonus. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to make the most of in-person events. When I say events, I mean meetups, conferences, unconferences, hackathons, and so much more. And we're going to go into more details about what each of those are and the pros and cons. I appreciate in-person events takes more time and money to organize and also to attend, so I appreciate it's not always possible. But if you are lucky enough to be able to attend, please don't just sit on the side and listen and watch and observe. You might as well have stayed at home in your pajamas and watched a talk on YouTube. Why? Because there is so much more to in-person events than just the talks. Don't get me wrong, the talks are amazing, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. You get to meet people you've probably been collaborating with online from Tech Twitter, Discord, and GitHub, which is a great way to build a stronger professional relationship once you've met someone and you've connected with them and chatted about how the event going, how lunch was, and what you both learned in that day. But what is a conference? Well, a conference is kind of a bigger version of a meetup. So let's start with meetup. A meetup is where a group of people, usually local to the event, have a few hours in the evening to share ideas, stories, and there's usually kind of 2 or 3 short talks and then some networking time. It's very relaxed. Usually people go after work during the week. So moving on to a conference, it's kind of a similar thing, but more on steroids. It's usually 1 or 2 or potentially 3 days, and it's the entire full day. And you get to do what I just mentioned about the meetup. You have talks, you have lunch, you have time to network with other people. The coffee track is super important. And when we say coffee track, we mean the time between the talks when you go get a coffee, because you get to queue and then you get to chat to people about what they've learned, where they've come from, what talks they're going to look forward to that day. And that's really important because you kind of break the ice and build up a connection. And we're going to get to this later, but if you're a bit nervous to chat to people, don't worry. They're probably a bit nervous too. So why don't you just go up and say hi to them, and then you both get the benefit and you're the one that went first. You just need to go hi because they're at the conference for the same reason you are. So you can just say, hi, how's your day going? What talks have you seen? What talks you're looking forward to? And that's it. Everything else will just roll smoothly after that. So what is an unconference? Well, an unconference is similar to a conference, but also not similar. So with a conference, you have slots and then people are assigned their slot before the conference. So before you go to the conference, you know at 1 p.m. person A is talking, at 2 p.m. person B is talking, and so forth. And there could be different tracks and multiple tracks. And that's actually one thing I didn't mention. In meetups, it's usually just 1 track, whereas the conference, it's usually 2, 3, or 4 tracks. So with an unconference, it's also kind of 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks. And there are slots, kind of 10 to 11, 1 till 2, 2 till 3, etc. But they're not assigned to people until that specific day. So people go to the conference, or the unconference I should say, on that day, and some people will present a talk at the beginning, and then you as the attendees will vote on which talks you want to see. And you can also propose topics of discussion. So say if you would like to learn more about a topic, but you don't want to give a talk on it, you could actually propose that. Other people might say, well, I know quite a bit about that. Let's just have a discussion about it, and we can have kind of a Q&A or panel discussion and so forth, which is a really great way to learn and also network with other people. So I really love unconferences. They are my favorite. So what is a hackathon? No, you're not going to try and break into banks and government departments, all that stuff you see in the movies. A hackathon is not where you try to break things, it's where you try to make things. And you're usually trying to build a startup project in the kind of 2-day hackathon. It's so great fun. You get to meet other people and you get to focus on your project. You do the ideation process, and then you'll plan out your project and you'll split the tasks and you'll work on it, and then you'll present together. And it's super fun. They usually have some really great prizes that you can win at a hackathon. You go to a hackathon with different hats on, and what I mean is you could go to a hackathon with the view to win, right? So if you're a JavaScript developer, you're going to go and do JavaScript. You're going to focus and use the skills that you have, and you could try and win, which is really fun and has its benefits. But you could also put a different hat on, which is you might know JavaScript, but you might want to learn Python, for example. So you go to the hackathon as a Python developer, and you could join a team that's doing Python, and then you could learn Python on kind of a real world project from these awesome Python developers. But you're not going to be very fast, and so you're maybe less likely to win, although it's not just about how fast you are to win a hackathon, and that's probably a whole other video. Let me know in the comments below if that's something you would like to learn more about. But it's a great way for you to learn. So going to a hackathon and using a skill that you're not very familiar with is a really, really great way to learn. So there's different ways you can go to a hackathon and try and mix it up. But how to make the most of these in-person events? I already mentioned talk to people, go say hi. Talk to everyone. Well, not everyone, not too many people, but don't try and just, you've met someone and you feel it's not too scary and then just kind of stay with them the whole day, 2 days, because you need to meet other people. But I'm not saying rush around and try and say hi to everyone. I've tried that and you don't really build any, long-lasting relationships. It's more kind of just superficial, like saying hi to someone in the street. So I would recommend finding that balance. And you're only going to find that balance of what you're capable of by doing this more often and practicing. So I highly recommend practicing and see what works for you. But the goal is to build authentic relationship with other professional people at the event that you can then talk to after the event, collaborate, and you can help each other in your careers. If I give an example, I really like smaller events, kind of, 200 to 300 people, because you get to meet so many people and it's not so rushed. I've been to events where there are 80,000 people and to be honest, it's just hi, and that's it. The conversation doesn't really go any further. It's a lot of fun, a lot of things going on, but I feel it's a bit more superficial rather substantial. So mix it up again and see what works for you. But remember, everyone is there to meet other people and learn from each other. So if you're a bit nervous, a bit scared, so are they. And you can make that effort to chat to people. And also, usually people, when they stand in groups, they try and leave a gap, and that gap is there for you to join. And when you join, the group tries to make it a bit bigger, what we call the kind of the Pac-Man effect. So therefore, you make it a bit bigger so that there's another gap for another person to join. It is much more welcoming. But the more you go to events, the more you practice, the more you do this, the easier it will become. And plus, you'll get to meet those people at other events again, which will make it much easier to kind of break the ice, get started at that event, and then you can meet more people. They can introduce you to other people, and it's that snowball effect. Another benefit of going to an event, in addition to the networking and the learning, is the content. People always say they're short on content. When you go to an in-person event, you should get enough content to last you weeks, if not months. Take photos of the speakers, share them on socials, write a blog post of what you learned at the conference. Also, share tips on Twitter and LinkedIn from what you've learned at the event and the people you have met. You will get so much content. And if you're brave enough, or not if, when you're brave enough, then start vlogging the event as well with little chats with people. Those are great sound bites to share on socials, and you can stitch them together to make a YouTube video as well. So definitely document your journey, document the people you've met, document what the speakers are talking about on stage as well. Add value to the people who couldn't make it to the event. The more value you add, the more likely it is that the person that you tagged, for example, if you took a picture of the speaker on at the event and you tagged them and you tweet it and said great talk by person A, then they're going to like it. But if you really want them to reshare it and put some effort into engaging it so you can then kind of grow your social following as well, then you need to add more value so they will share it with their community. Why not include 3 things you really enjoyed about their talk, and then they're going to want to share that with their audience and their community as well. If you add value, then they'll want to share that with their community, which gives you more exposure. So don't forget to connect with people that you meet on Twitter, LinkedIn, but to be honest, forget Instagram. It sounds really odd and a bit pervy. I know people are going to hate me for this, but it's really odd when people say, oh, what's your Instagram? And it's like, okay, it's a bit more of a personal thing, whereas I find Twitter and LinkedIn is more professional. I know you're all going to shout in the comments below, and please do share your thoughts and opinion. I don't think I am right. I'm just sharing my experiences, and I am always keen to learn and improve with everybody else as well. And also do follow up after the event with a personal message. So if you've connected with them on LinkedIn or Twitter, then after the event, do say, hey, it was great to meet you. I really enjoyed talking about whatever you spoke about, right? That's really important. Make it personal. They're more likely to remember you after the event, and also for any, future events they're going to, they might reach out to you. They might have a free ticket. They might want to do some collaborations on socials. They might even have a job for you. And you want to be remembered as that person who's really professional. Let's be honest here. The more effort you put into making the most out of the event, the better the result will be. So do put in a bit of effort, a bit more effort than you think, and make sure you get an early night the night before. Eddie says this as I'm going to an event in like 6 hours time, so I need to get some rest soon as well. But make sure you get some rest before and after the event. They are tiring. They are so much fun, so worth it. But make sure you have the energy at the event to make the most of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe below so you can get notified every time I post a video and go live. But you need to hit the bell button to do that as well. And come and geek out with me on open source every day in the EddieHub Discord. I'd love to geek out with you. Your perspectives, your point of views will definitely help the project, and you can learn and network at the same time as well. I'll see you there.